Now that your heart is fully activated in the consciousness of the cosmic Christ, you can hear my words. You can perceive their meaning. You can act upon that which issues forth as the will of God. And you can fulfill the great command according to the desire of the mighty I Am Presence that you are. You stepped forth, proclaiming I am, from the heart of God. But you did not leave the allness of God. For throughout all of your sojourn, you have maintained that constant, brooding presence of the one God. You have acknowledged that presence when you were brought into the awareness of beauty, of peace, of love, of the magnificence of creation, of all things that carry the divine qualities of the one God. This is how your heart has come to know what is true, what is just. For it recognizes the one presence that cannot be denied. For when you have cleared your consciousness, even in these outer vehicles you wear, you have known the touch of God. When your presence determined to incarnate in the earth, the law of octaves did not allow for the mighty I Am, in all of its splendor, glory, and perfection, to come into these realms without vehicles of consciousness made up of the physical as the earth body, the emotional as the water, as the air, as fire, as akasha, so that when you integrated into this world of form, you would know firsthand the requirement to move within those elements of the nature of God life how to command them to respond to the mind of God. What was the correct desiring for those elemental forces to fashion themselves into? How would you maintain the continuity of the flow of God's consciousness in the allness of the one God, all the while the many octaves and planes of consciousness would seemingly be separated? Of course, many of you already know. It is through the heart flame, that heart that is the one heart of the mighty I Am Presence, that maintains the integrity of the light of God in each of your vehicles of consciousness. And when there is sufficient harmony on all of the areas of your consciousness, flowing freely, moving in that peaceful state of resonance that allows the heart to unfurl its threefold flame, then, blessed ones, you have imparted to you at every moment what is the right course, the right action, the right word, the right thought, the right energy, the right intonation with which to move, breathe, and live in the allness of God. I, Maitreya, come often to remind you of what is expected of you as the initiate on the path, gaining mastery, receiving the charge of light daily from your own God presence, and making yourself not merely passive, but worthy to receive the hand of God, blessing your life, filling your life, charging it with divine purpose, and holding you in the firm embrace of the presence of the allness of God. This is how your life is intended to be lived. Contrary, in many cases, to the actuality of what is the state of affairs of many. And this is why we call you to come to this altar frequently, without hesitation, reservation, or reluctance, so that you might be reminded of who you truly are, so that you might receive the charge of light to wash away and consume by the light of God any misconceptions about the truth of your identity. And thus setting you back on the pathway that is the divine destiny that your presence has desired. For these, the outer extensions of the presence that you wear, to follow. Never can you forget, or should you, that your hands, your feet, your thoughts, your feeling body, every action which you undertake are intended for your God presence. Even those who are engaged in responsibilities or professions which they may not particularly enjoy. Nonetheless, you will move through those areas of life more seamlessly, quickly, more seamlessly and quickly, if you are holding fast to the presence of God and recognizing that there are lessons to learn, mastery to gain. For your presence has orchestrated your life to the greatest extent the law would allow, given the karmic debts that these outer vehicles have created. Why do you suppose there is such insistence that you give the violet flame to transmute those records? It is so that you might step forth as the Christ in that holy vehicle of consciousness, taking the Christ command over your life, all of your affairs, and setting in motion the divine patterns that were created in the heart of your own God presence, and bringing them into fruition. If you look about yourself and consider what are the fruits of your life, you will quickly come to the awareness of what must be changed. Perhaps outwardly, you can find no way in which to execute that change. But your presence will know. And you can allow the presence to make every necessary change in your life that the presence requires? Are you beginning to realize how vastly different this approach to your life is than merely brutishly forging your way through a life, surviving by the outer vehicles till the next day and the next, without any concern for your own God presence? When you turn your life over to the divine presence of God that you are, learning how to be responsive to the presence, learning what your presence expects of you, asking yourself, is this what my presence would say, would do, would exact upon the elemental forces of nature? Many times you would find that in that pause, it would be dramatically clear to you that change must occur. After you have spent a lifetime, if not more than one, practicing, turning your life over to the mighty I Am presence, you will develop the habit of no longer thinking with the human mind, the human emotions, no longer allowing the base desires of the flesh to rule your life. But you will allow the presence to orchestrate your life in the divine estate. For you will be prepared to step forth as the Christ. You will have honed and fashioned each of your vehicles of consciousness to be disciplined to the slightest nuance of the mighty I Am presence. What I have described to you is a course of study that you, as the incarnate Son and daughter of God, have been engaged in for many, many lifetimes. Since first stepping forth and proclaiming, I am out of the heart of the one God, you have followed many paths, diverse in nature, some of which far removed from the divine design that your presence desired. Now you have made the determination to come once more to the heart of God, to put aside the self-concerns, the human ego, all of the minutiae of unreality that has no place in the heart of God. And having stripped away all that you thought you were, standing before the one God, ready to be filled, you are now prepared to don the garments of your Christhood. Some of you will know exactly what I speak of, for you have already arrived. Some will desire to run in the opposite direction for fear of loss, of what they have considered more important than God. But I warn you, eventually, even if you run, there will come the time that you will make an about-face and desire God to return to your life again. What remains is when your own mighty I Am presence will be able to prepare the pathway and opportunity for you to come this close. Karma is a funny thing. It is not always controllable. Yes, the karmic board oversees a certain amount of the returning karma that comes to the sons and daughters of God. Surely, the mighty I Am presence is able to assist, but only to a certain point. For when you have created a destructive energy of any kind in any plane of consciousness of these lower vehicles, you are required to be responsible for it. There is no mystery. It is yours, and yes, you do own it. Until such time as you have satisfied the debt by one, either transmuting it with the sacred fire, or two, walking through that karmic debt and working that karma out, either in the physical, the emotional, or the mental vehicles of your world. I leave it to you. It seems most simple. Do my way. That the sacred fire would be an easier way to transmute the records of your karma. You decide each day. Yes, there has been the great dispensation of the transmutation of 10,000 years of your karmic debt. One of the prerequisites, if you will remember, is that you maintain daily sufficient violet flame to transmute any karma that has ensued in the previous day, so that you will not be creating any new karma. And ultimately be able to handle any other karmic debts outside of the 10,000 years or the current day's allotment. Karma, blessed hearts, can blindside you if you are not preparing your vehicles of consciousness to be resilient, strong, and courageous in the light of your God presence. If you are filled with light and you are moving forward on the divine path that your presence has elected, then you will navigate even the most treacherous waters with victory. For you will be prepared to draw forth the light, the attainment, and the mastery required at any moment. This, blessed hearts, is why the mighty I Am Presence incarnated, so that you would have physical bodies, emotional bodies, mental bodies, memory bodies that were required to listen to the voice of God, to be charged with the light of God, to be fashioned and formed in the creation of God, and thus draw forth into your life all that the presence of God desired. Your mighty I Am Presence is a Godhead charioteer, guiding and directing your vehicles of consciousness through the many rounds of incarnation, so that you could have the mastery and attainment to create with these great forces of nature by issuing the command of God, and they would obey. Oh, what a beautiful plan God has wrought for the presence to learn how to create. Your presence is glorious indeed and has much that the presence desires to bring forth. But these vehicles that you wear must be responsive for them to truly be the vehicle of God. Let your body temple forever be the presence of God. As you live, move, breathe, and become the Christ where you are. Make yourself available to the presence, to the ascended and cosmic beings, so that you might more quickly come up in vibration, wisdom, accelerating your vehicles of consciousness, so that you may be crowned with illumination's flame, so that you can stream forth the love of God. And so when the presence desires the power of God, under the God control of the will of the presence, will be able to move mountains. I, Maitreya, invite you to the coming conclave of light, so that you might be touched by the hand of God, receiving it, internalizing it, and becoming that nature of the Christ for all days of your life. Let Chamuel and Charity and their ruby ray angels guide you to our doorstep, so that we might receive you in God love.